Mr. Chairman, nice to see you, sir.
Good to be with you, Greg.
Mr. Chairman, as I watch you in the Judiciary Committee, I think to myself all the time, if I ever get picked up for armed robbery, I want you to represent me because we cross-examine.
Well, I appreciate that's a compliment. I try to go about that work where I think about the constituents back home. What would they want me to ask, and how can I make the point that I think needs to be made and get the information that needs to be out there for the American people?
So tell me this: what's the skill set though for the Speaker of the House? Because I assume that's a different job. What do you see as that skill set?
Bringing the team together. This job at this moment is really about two fundamental questions. Who can unite the Republican conference? Who can bring the team together? And then who can go tell the American people what we're doing and why it matters to them, how it impacts them, their family, their community, their small business. That is what the role is. And so I like the job I have. I didn't plan on running for Speaker, but I think I'm the one individual uniquely positioned within the conference to bring the team together and go tell the American people why we're doing important work for them.
You know, it seems to me from the outside it's like herding cats. We've all watched what's been going on for the last week, and in fact, we saw the 15 ballots in January. Yep. It's like herding cats. And it seems to me that a Speaker's role, and correct me if I'm wrong, is twofold. You have your choice. You can either pass legislation that you know will get through the Senate, which is dominated, the majority is Democrats and signed by the President Democrat, or you can satisfy sort of the deep passions and ideologies of those who don't necessarily agree.
Well, I think you can address the issues the country wants addressed, and if you focus on that perspective and that objective, right now the country wants to address the border situation. It is front of mind for everyone. There's a reason Eric Adams went to Central America. There's a reason he said what he said a few weeks ago about what this is doing. So you address the issues that are front and center on the American people's mind, and you use good common sense strategy and tactics to get that done in a legislative body where there is inevitably has to be a compromise. So, but that's how you, I think, have to operate. That's how I've tried to operate, and I think that has to be the focus. So it's not one or the other. It's what can we get done in divided government? This is how our system works. That actually benefits the American people. I'll give you a great example. We passed a good border security immigration enforcement legislation. I wish the Senate would take up our bill.
So how do you get that done? I mean, that's a challenge. You could pass great bills in any House of Congress, but if you can't get it past the opposing one, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, how would you get a bill like that?
Two things.
Okay.
Two things. One, you talk about it. You tell the American people about it. We did X. Why won't the Senate take it? Why won't Chuck Schumer take it up and address the problem? They can amend it. They can change it. That's how our system works. And you know what did Churchill say? Our form of government's the worst form there is, except for all the others. So it's the best process in place. Use the process. They amend it, send it back. Then we iron out the differences, put it up for a vote, and we see what we get for the country. That's how the process. So you go talk about it. Second, you do look for those opportunities where you have to, on must-pass bills, there's certain things that have to pass to fund the government, except you say what issue is so powerful that we can put on this legislation that they have to deal with. And I argued a few weeks ago that we should have put on the stopgap spending measure. We should have put on that immigration. We could have put one sentence on that. No money can be used to process or release into the country any new migrants. One sentence would solve the problem. We should have done that and say, okay, we're all for making sure the government stays funded and our troops get paid and everyone gets paid. But we want to address the issue that the American people care about. Republicans care about it, independents care about it, Democrats care about it. That's how you operate. And you got to be smart about it, and you got to focus on the things that the American people know need to be focused on.
It appears you have some members of your conference, 8 to be precise, who have very deep views, and maybe even, I'll use the word stubborn. They weren't going to vote for anything unless their spending was reduced. A lot of things were done. How do you bring them inside the tent in light of the fact that you have such a narrow margin of majority in the Republican Party?
I think we're in a whole different world than we were just 3 days ago. What happened 3 days ago has never happened. Never happened in American history. So we're in a different world, and we have to realize, oh, wait a minute, things have changed. And if we don't come together, then where the Democrats want to take the country, particularly the left, which I think now controls that party, is not where I want to go, not where our constituents want to go. I don't think it's where the American people ultimately want to go. So we better come together and figure out how we can all, from the 8 who voted in a way that I disagreed with, but I respect those individuals, but I think they were dead wrong in what they did, to everyone else who voted the other way, and the whole cross-section of the conference. I think we have to come together, or or you get complete chaos, coalition government. And I tell folks, if we go to that, then everything changes. Everything changes in the Congress. Committee chairman could change, ratios and makeups of committee. We don't want to go there. We want to do what we told the American people we were going to do. So we better come together.
How do you convince Congressman Matt Gaetz? Because it appears that he can hold you hostage in light of the fact that there's such a slim majority.
We shouldn't go to the floor next week until we have 218 votes for the speaker. We got to determine that in conference. Shouldn't go to the floor next week unless we have 218 votes to change the motion to vacate. Leader Jeffries is already out with some statement that they want to work with they will only work with Republicans to change. So if they're saying that kind of thing, that they're going to want all kinds of stuff to change that rule. We have to decide as Republicans that we will change that House rule on the House floor. And frankly, I think we should, as a conference, come together and say we should figure out how we have 218 votes to deal with what's coming on November 17th, this stopgap funding measure we're in right now, how we're going to deal with that, and know that before we go out on the floor and elect a speaker as well.
Do you have sort of a plan how to deal with that?
Yeah, you got to do the stopgap funding measure. Understand, in the debt ceiling agreement, the spending number that was agreed to is actually a cut. Not as much as we should cut. We got a huge deficit and debt problem. I get it. But in divided government, it's the first time I've been in Congress where we actually reduce spending. So that's the number. But also in that bill was a good provision. It said if we're into a stopgap spending plan into next year, so if we have some kind of spending plan into next year, continuing resolution, whatever you want to call it, if we're into that to next year, there's an automatic 1% cut that kicks in. So I think we should do that, pass that kind of spending plan into next year, and have the incentive, the threat of a 1% cut hanging over politicians' head here in Congress. And there's nothing like that incentive to get Congress to do their work, to then actually deal with the individual appropriation bills where we can determine policy preferences and how we're going to spend the hard-earned money of the American people. Unless you have that incentive there, I don't think you get there. And to me, that was the beauty. That was the reason I supported the debt ceiling agreement, because it actually put in place that provision. I think we should run the play that we set up. And we set that up in that debt ceiling agreement. And guess what, Greta? 2/3 of the Congress voted for it, Republicans and Democrats. And the President of the United States signed it. So they've already agreed to that provision and that level of spending. Let's do it. And then we can focus on the policy in those 12 individual appropriation bills. That seems so rational to me, so common sense to me. I don't know why we didn't do it before. But I think that is the plan that we have to come together on. And I think I'm the one guy who can bring our team together, again, from Scott Perry, chairman of the Freedom Caucus, to Jeff Van Drew, who's supporting me as well publicly, who was a Democrat 4 years ago.
What about the motion to vacate? It's become the death penalty. I mean, is that going to change?
I think we have to have 218 Republicans who are willing to change that. The conference, I've been talking to all the conference the last couple days, and everyone wants to see that change. Everyone in the conference wants to see that change. But I think we got to get all the way to 218 and do it with Republican votes on the House floor. As I said earlier, if you have to use Democrats to change that, they're going to want all kinds of things that I don't think are to the benefit of the country and how the Congress works. So we're going to have to be able to do that with Republicans.
Okay, now take me behind closed doors. Tell me the process that begins this whole selection, because you do behind closed doors, the Republican conference will meet. But how does this happen? What goes on?
Well, there's the schedule's being worked out, but there's going to be a conference first where I think members are just going to come talk and.
Do you do a pitch? I mean,
Well,
do a speech? I mean, how does
there'll be a conference first, but then there'll be a candidate forum where there will be a chance to interact with the conference, have a debate-style format inside the conference. I think just a general conference where we talk about all kinds of issues. Obviously, this will be front and center, but that'll be, I think the schedule's that's Monday, Tuesday. There's a candidate forum. Wednesday, there's a vote. I think that's how this is supposed to play out. But again, I don't think we can come out of the conference and go to the floor of the House of Representatives until we have 218. I don't think our conference, I don't think the country wants to go through the same thing we went through back in January.
So it'd be like sending smoke signals up through the chimney.
Well,
almost.
I just think we can come together for both of those issues, 218 for the Speaker, 218 for the motion to vacate change.
Former President Donald Trump has endorsed you, which is an important endorsement for this, but it also may have an impact on those moderate Republicans who are in districts where President Biden prevailed in 2020. How do you address that? Or maybe you don't think it's an issue.
I think President Trump's endorsement is the most powerful endorsement in probably American political history. And I don't think it's any secret that I support President Trump as being our next president. I think when his presidency was certainly the best in my lifetime at doing what he told the American people he was going to do. So it's no surprise that I support President Trump. I appreciate his endorsement. And the conference knew where I was and who I've endorsed for president a long time ago. I'm focused on the conference and getting the votes there, but we welcome President Trump's endorsement.
Is Ukraine spending going to be an issue?
Yeah, my position on this has been clear, and I think again, so much of this is just common sense. You're from the Midwest. I'm from the Midwest. Like
we both went to Wisconsin.
Both Badgers. Look, but all across the country, it's just common sense. Why should we continue to send American tax dollars, the hard-earned money of the families in the 4th District of Ohio that I get the privilege of representing, to Ukraine when we don't know what the goal is? What's the mission?
How does that happen? I mean, but that happens that's been going on for decades. We send money, we don't know where it's going.
Well, first, it's the role of the president, the commander-in-chief, I would argue, to tell us what the mission is, to come to the country and say, here's what we're trying to, because I don't know, is the goal to drive them out of eastern Ukraine, the Russians, the Donbass region? Is it kick them out of Crimea, which they've held for 9 years? They took during the Obama-Biden administration. What is the objective? Until you know what the objective is, it's hard to measure that the money that's been sent there already, if it's actually being effective, because you have to ask the question, effective to what end? We don't know because we don't know the goal. So for me, it's pretty basic. Give me the objective, and then let's have accountability how the money is spent for the objective, and then we can entertain the question. But until those things are answered, I just don't get it. And I think that's where the American people are. American people don't want Russia having this huge influence in Europe. We understand that. And we want to stop that.
What's so hard for, there is no accountability. I mean, even if we know the mission, historically, we don't know where the dollars are. After the war is over, we find out how much was stolen.
It's ridiculous, it's wrong, and the American people are fed up with it. I would be totally in favor of it, some kind of inspector general looking at this. We've worked with inspector generals in the various agencies. There needs to be one for the money that's being spent there as well. But still, first and foremost is, tell me, tell me what the goal is. Tell me what the objective is. And I would argue that's the responsibility of the commander-in-chief of the greatest country ever to go to the people, to go to we the people, and explain it to them. What are we trying to do here, and why is it important? And I think there are real answers to that, but you got to make the case, and he hasn't done that.
What happens to the Judiciary Committee if you're the Speaker? Well, who's the next chairman?
That's a steering committee determination. We got good people on the committee, and they'll do good work. They'll continue to do the work of this, what Speaker McCarthy called the weaponization of government against we the people, these federal agencies being turned against the citizens, the very people they're supposed to serve. And so we feel like we've been successful in showing that and frankly making changes. I mean, it's no accident that the IRS no longer makes unannounced visits to Americans' homes. The commissioner announced that. And of course, he said it was, it's because we're concerned about the safety of our agents. Baloney. They made that change because we caught him knocking on Matt Taibbi's door when he's testifying in front of our committee. Total intimidation. So we're having an impact with the work we're doing. That will continue because it's what we told the American people we were going to do if they gave us the majority in the House. We said we were going to do our constitutional duty of oversight. We were going to do it in a way consistent with the Constitution, but we were going to do it in an aggressive way. And we've been doing that, and that will continue. Maybe
I'm a little bit lazy, but I look at the job of Speaker, and I think that's the last job I'd want. It's like you've got to be out every night, you've got to raise money, you've got to herd cats, you've got people shooting at you from every direction. Why do you want it?
I want it because I don't know who else can bring the team together. I mean, I thought about it. Greta, you just asked about I had the job I wanted, I had the job I like the job I'm in. But after what happened, I thought about it, prayed about it, talked to my wife about it, and I said, you know what? Someone's got to try to bring this team together. I think I have a greater chance of doing that than anyone else in the conference, and if I didn't think that, I wouldn't do it. I also think I can go talk to the American people in a plain way, common sense way, and tell them what we're up to here and why it makes a difference, and the values and principles we're trying to protect and defend that I think make our country special. So if I didn't think I was, able to do that, I wouldn't run. But that's why I'm doing it.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.